Recently, during Cockroach Janata Party protests in India, be it the United States, be it Canada, be it the United Kingdom, all the Western media outlets sent their best reporters on the ground in New Delhi, criticizing the Indian government, criticizing political parties, criticizing the silence of Indian Prime Minister. And no, we don't have problem with that. But let me tell you what double standards really are. Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir is burning. People there, they are begging for help. Human rights have been violated, Kashmiris are dying. Now, where is US? Where is BBC? Where is the New York Times? Oh no, I'm wrong here. The New York Times, they actually covered the massacre. Once again, calling POK, Pakistan Kashmir. But we need to know first what's happening on the ground. We need to know the truth. We need to know the suffering. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Dhruti Yatri. You're watching Skyline's special edition tonight. According to multiple reports, at least 40 people, including women and children, have reportedly been killed after Pakistani forces opened fire during protests across parts of Pakistan occupied Kashmir. The violence has been most intense in Rawalkot and Mirpur, where clashes between protesters and security personnel. It has been continuing for days now. Ladies and gentlemen, videos circulating online, it shows thousands of people gathering on the streets, chanting slogans, carrying flags, demanding for the change. The protests are no longer isolated demonstrations, by the way. They have now become one of the biggest political crises Pakistan occupied Kashmir has ever witnessed in recent years. But who are these protesters? Well, the moment is being led by Joint Awami Action Committee, or also we can call it JAAC. The group organized a massive, long march from Rawalkot to Muzaffarpur, saying that it wanted to highlight what it describes as years of neglect, political interference, and economic hardship. Well, according to them, their movement has remained peaceful. The whole organization insists that protesters they have stayed unarmed despite the security crackdown. In public statement, they said that people have continued to stand very peacefully and unarmed. Our peaceful struggle against oppression and injustice will continue. You know, that statement, it has now become the central message of the entire movement. However, Pakistani government, being Pakistani, tells a very different story. Islamabad has rejected reports that civilians were deliberately targeted, just like Pahalgam. Instead, Pakistanis claim that members of the band Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan (TTP) had mixed with the protesters. According to their government, the security operation it was aimed at dealing with those militant elements and restoring law and order. And yes, Pakistan's Minister of State for Interior Affairs, Talal Chaudhry, he has also ruled out negotiations. His message, kind of direct, let me quote it. We will not talk to the protesters. Law will take its course. That statement signals that Pakistani government is not really interested in talking to them. Wait, why are people protesting? Well, this movement did not begin overnight, not at all. For weeks, people across Pakistan occupied Kashmir have been raising concern about rising prices, unemployment, increasing cost of living, alleged administrative neglect, political discrimination, and accusations of rights violation. Many residents say that they feel ignored by the authorities while basic economic conditions continue to worsen there. For many families, survival has become more difficult because of inflation and limited employment opportunity. But economics is only part of the story. There's also growing political dispute, by the way. The JAAC has called for boycott of local body elections and they have organized demonstrations across the region. The organization alleges that 12 seats in the POK Legislative Assembly are effectively controlled by Pakistan's establishment, allowing Islamabad to influence who eventually becomes region's prime minister. Because of these allegations now, many protesters they argue that the elections cannot truly reflect the will of the people. Well, the moment is no longer only about rising prices. It has now become a debate over political representation, democratic accountability, and local governance. Well, the elections themselves have become controversial. Though I'm surprised they do conduct elections under Asim Munir here. According to Pakistan's official figures, voter turnout during the first phase that remained healthy, but independent assessments cited by various sources, they present a very different picture. Some estimates suggest turnout in parts of Mirpur division remained very low, 10% maybe, lower than official numbers released by authorities. Several towns reportedly remained completely shut during polling after JAAC called for a boycott. Now, if those independent estimates are actually accurate, they point towards growing public dissatisfaction and declining confidence in political process. And yes, another major concern is the flow of information. There has been allegation that authorities imposed communication blackouts and suspended internet and other services across parts of POK. Now, can you imagine? If communication networks are restricted, it becomes much harder for journalists, for independent observers, and for international organizations to verify developments on the ground. And that is why conflicting narratives continue to emerge. One side speaks of restoring law and order, the other side speaks of suppression and human rights concern. In the meantime, political process, it is still continuing. The POK Legislative Assembly consists of 53 seats, including 45 directly elected constituencies and 8 reserved seats for women, technocrats, and religious scholars. The first phase of voting already has been concluded. According to the official result, the Pakistan Muslim League, Nawaz, he secured 9 seats, while Pakistan People's Party won 4. The remaining constituencies are scheduled to vote in the coming phases. But with protests continuing, allegations of excessive force mounting, and political tension rising every single day, the atmosphere that remains extremely volatile. This is no longer just an election story. This is about governance. This is about brutality of the Pakistani government on ordinary POK citizens. It is a story about competing narrative, and it is a story that could shape political future of POK for years to come. As events continue to unfold, one thing is definitely certain. The crisis inside POK, it is far from over. But again, we don't have major media outlets covering this massacre here. People who are dying, protesters for no reason, they are suffering. They are suffering from inflation, from injustice of Pakistani government. But still, instead of relationships between the United States and Pakistan, instead of Pakistani general visiting the United States to meet the US President, Mr. Trump, where is the say? Where is the voice that has to be heard?